So I try not to put too much uh, negative energy out there, but you know what I'm saying? Fuck it.
Yes, get it.
I,
I think this is what J. Cole thought he was getting into when he dropped 7 Minute Drill.
to be honest, I think folks are lucky that Absol has not jumped into all of this.
Pusha T kind of ruined people's view of what a rap beef should be, and they think like, oh, you should be releasing secret information.
Conductor actually said that he used to actually be a real
yeah,
train conductor. Yeah, I thought that was dope. Shout out to him, man. As white folks in these spaces, it's like it's the absolute least you can do to like do your fucking homework and know what the hell you're talking about.
Welcome to the SoundCentric Podcast. I am your host, Adam Dash, and today we are joined by a man who is the DJ for the Estelle show on Apple Music. He is also the host of the podcast Linear Notes, breaking down some of your favorite album songs with some of the people who are a part of making that. He hails from the West Coast. I'm rocking a Tribe Called Quest right now, so I'm going to have a little bit of East Coast bias in this episode. But my guy, DJ Short, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
So, as we were talking about before this is one of the coolest times for hip-hop. I feel like when everyone's on Twitter just writing their favorite lyrics from a rap beef, that's when stuff gets exciting. I think this is what J. Cole thought he was getting into when he dropped 7 Minute Drill. My friends were asking me, they're like, how is Adam going to make this about J. Cole? As I'm a Cole stan, and I'm rocking my 10-year anniversary Forest Hill Drive set. I'm like, damn, poor Cole. This is what he wanted, just competitive rapping. And it's kind of like the West Coast versus East Coast versus one man, Joey Bada. But how are you feeling about the beef right now?
Oh man, it's great. It's great. I love, how fast paced it is. That's one cool thing about kind of
Yeah.
the way the internet has affected all of this. And it's just cool, man. It's been a great, year for the West, and it's great to see that continue and see also just artists that aren't just Kendrick Lamar, getting this shine and people finally kind of realizing what we have to offer, especially from a battle perspective and on the lyrical side, because I think, historically, a lot of folks not from Cali kind of count us out a lot, and so now we're really showing the world like what we got. It's up right now.
Yeah, I feel like hip hop, since the kind of like the internet booming in like the 2010s, kind of lost its regionality because now you can sound like any different city because we all have access to all that stuff, and small artists aren't like starting regionally now. They can like pop off and like go somewhere else. So we were kind of losing that for a little while. So I think it's awesome that Cali's up. And to your point about how fast paced this has been, I saw a tweet. I'm 23, so I was 2 years old when Jay-Z and Nas were going at it. And I saw on Twitter someone was saying how like spaced out that beef was, and you wouldn't know it now, but there was months in between like throwing these diss records. So I think that was the cool part about the Kendrick and Drake, and now this. We're recording this on Monday the 19th. There have been two disses that have dropped this morning right before we recorded.
Yeah, man. Again, just crazy times, man. Like, super fast paced. Very exciting.
And just to go through the timeline of what we're dealing with right now, Joey dropped the rulers back. Ray Vaughn had a funny line about you keep saying you're back. Like every time you rap, you don't got to keep saying you're back. Ray Vaughn, who just dropped an amazing album. Are you a Ray fan?
Oh, absolutely, man. I tapped into Ray when he got signed to TDE, and I think that was like 2022. And I was very excited to kind of see what he would do. And I always trust in TDE, especially when they sign new artists. And this new album, man, is great. One of the best projects of the year. One of the best West Coast projects of the year. And I'm really excited that he's getting this moment now and getting more shine, especially with a new record out.
Yeah, I mean, double XLT, fire. I see people complaining. I think Pusha T kind of ruined people's view of what a rap beef should be, and they think like, oh, you should be releasing secret information. I'm one of the people, I think Story of Adidon is the best diss ever. That being said, it kind of changed everyone's view, like, oh, you're supposed to pull out some skeletons out of the closet. And obviously with this Drake and Kendrick beef, we got that. So I saw people complaining. They're like, what's this beef? Just trying to like push your album. But it's like, this is what it's supposed to be. Just like competitive, not getting criminal indictments in the middle of a rap beef.
Right, no lawsuits. Yeah, man, I think a lot of people, especially younger folks, because the last really big rap beef, probably was Hove and Nas. But, people that are, your age, even a little bit older, weren't weren't around to really experience that. And so, the last thing kind of in the public consciousness is, Pusha T and Drake, and now Kendrick and Drake. And so the perception has totally changed. You know what I mean? But this is what it's always been about
Yeah.
historically. You go back to the very beginning. It's like it's about rapping as a sport and competition. You know what I mean? So it is cool that we're kind of getting back to that as well.
And I think Joey said multiple times on like multiple disses, like this is for sport. We'll see. We'll talk about Daylyt in a second. He might have took it to the next level apart from sport. But Ray Vaughn, he killed it with Crash High Heritage. Double XLT on that album. I've been bumping that. I think I got put onto him with the Isaiah Rashad song Doghouse. Is that what it's called?
Hmm.
Who let the dogs out? Yeah, that song's that's crazy. And then Joey drops along with Big Sean and Absol. They get on the Red Bull Freestyle. And I'll say I used to be a huge Joey fan, obviously 1999, and All American Badass, that album. And in recent years, I haven't been loving the raps. It's felt a little mailed in sometimes. It's felt he says word is bond like on every song ever. He I no, you can like sometimes tell when a rapper kind of freestyled a verse and didn't fully write it. And I was
Right.
getting that vibe from Joey for a little bit. So I like that this has kind of woken him up, and I'm like, okay, I can tell he sat down. The Red Bull freestyle was crazy. What were your thoughts on that?
I loved it, man. I loved it. It was really cool. I'm admittedly not a huge Big Sean fan, but
Okay.
I've been a fan of Ab Soul and Joey since God, 2011, 2012, whenever
Yeah.
1999 dropped, and I got into TDE around 2010, 2011. So it was a big moment. It felt like a big moment for the blog era. I'm happy to see these guys still going at it and still sharp as hell. And I liked the friendly competition of it all. I liked that they were referencing the beef. I liked what Ab Soul had to say. To be honest, I think folks are lucky that Ab Soul has not jumped into all of this. Um,
Yeah.
but it was great, man. It was great. It's hip hop. It's pure hip hop, and I always love to see that.
Yeah, I thought they killed it. I am a Sean fan. I understand the critiques of him when he has like a corny line here and there, but I think when he's rapping, he's great. Like when he's rapping, which I thought he was on this one. What do you say about like holding the peace and then if you don't confuse strong skin for a tattoo? I'm like, ooh,
Yeah, no, I will say, like I said, as someone that's not a Sean fan like that, like he came with the bars, man. He came to rap,
yeah.
and I respect that.
I liked how they were interacting through it. You can tell they kind of like pre-planned some of it, so like they're kind of joking around during it. So he said, "I'll take your hat back and ask Nene who's her favorite rapper." Soul.
Yeah, that was hard. That was hard.
I would love to see Soul in a battle. He had like a kind of sad tweet the other week about like his tour not being able to tour. So it's kind of hard to see artists who we grew up loving in that era like kind of at this point. So hopefully this kind of boosts everyone up, gets everyone loving hip hop again and wanting to go out to see a show. Because his last album was great.
Yeah, Soul Burger.
Soul Burger was great. I like the one also before that. Fuck on My Face was my favorite song from that one.
Hmm.
I saw him at Dreamville Fest, and I mean he's a good performer. He's like a battle rapper type performer where he's really breaking down every line. He's crazy.
Right, right. Shout out to Ab Soul, man.
And then Joey dropped the finals. What is it? Last week, I think that was
Yeah.
no Hoe Era. Hoe Era was the next one with Ray Vaughn, and it kind of had that Kendrick vibe. What song is he kind of interpolating on that? Like, is it Peekaboo? He has a little
I
bit of
think it's
it.
Peekaboo and I believe Hey Now.
Hey now, yeah, yeah. That one was sick. What were your? Because that one got more Cali inside of it with the sound.
Yeah, I loved it, man. I mean, if y'all know me. Y'all know I ride for the West Coast. I'm here for the West Coast, man. And even though I do want to clear something up, there were those kind of interpolations from a couple songs on GNX, but I did see a lot of folks on Twitter talking about, he's using Kendrick's flow or copying Kendrick's beat, style and whatnot. And I think there's a big misconception about that because I think for a
Yeah,
lot of folks outside of Cali, like GNX and Not Like Us were their first time kind of experiencing that kind of regional sound. It's a very um, modern LA specific
yeah,
sound with some Bay Area sounds on there too. And it's like this is a thing that has been going on. Kendrick is not the first person to do this. I mean, I feel like Ray, despite those interpolations, like he was just doing that sound. He wasn't doing
yeah.
Kendrick's sound. Kendrick doesn't own that sound. But that being said, man, I loved it. I think he had bars. I think one thing I really appreciate about West Coast diss tracks is they're always fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They always slap. Like we're always gonna make some shit that you can dance to, and he definitely did that. And it's just a lot of aggression, a lot of wordplay. Like Ray can really rap, man. You
Yeah,
know what I'm
yeah,
saying? I was kind of interested, being that he brought up Joey's girl, kind of seeing where that was gonna go.
yeah.
It was a light jab, but at the same time, man, we've seen where
We've seen where it went
light
with
jabs like
Drake.
that can go. So, but yeah, man, I loved it, and I was really anticipating Joey's response. But I thought it was a really good look for Ray. Happy to see him getting that shine too, and just seeing that kind of sound be more in the spotlight.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. He kind of went the Not Like Us route where like you can play that song just as a song. Like it was catchy. Like by the second time the
Right.
chorus came around, like I knew it. And that was funny with Not Like Us. Kendrick kind of did exactly what people thought Drake would do, which is what he did with the Meek diss was like make a hit song. So Not Like Us just being a hit song, like poor Drake. That was
One of the biggest
crazy.
songs ever, like
Truly.
realistically.
And I wrote down a couple lines from that. Standing next to Soul Ain't Gonna Save Yours, bar. This one was funny. Conductor got you sounding like a jazz band. Going at the dot, he
Woo!
thinks he's Pac-Man. Poor Conductor getting shots at him. I love Conductor beats, but that one made me laugh.
Yeah, that was funny as hell. And I saw a clip from an interview a couple days ago where just a side note, Conductor actually said that he used to actually be a real
Yeah,
train conductor. Yeah, I thought that was dope. Shout out to him, man.
that is honestly that is hilarious. It's like, oh, I guess it adds up. You find out Alchemist was
Right.
actually an alchemist. He was cooking magic before he started.
It is kind of funny though, because it's interesting that he brought Conductor into this, because if you look at kind of the way Conductor has been involved in kind of this whole lineage of beef in the past, year or two, he produced,
Seven Minute
those
Drill,
joints for Joey. He produced 7 Minute Drill. He produced a few joints for
Drake.
Drake. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So it is kind of interesting his role in all of this.
So right now it's kind of a 1v5. We got coming at Joey. If there was an East Coast rapper that you'd want to see kind of join this, doesn't have to be a pro era person. Is there anyone that you'd be like, they could start standing up for the East Coast and do some
God,
shit?
man, that's tough, because I do think a lot of people are saying the East Coast is kind of dead right now, and I don't necessarily agree with that. I think it looks a lot differently than from
The
what
past.
people typically
Yeah.
expect from the East Coast. I think there's a lot of drill rappers that I think are doing their thing. Shout out to Connie Diamond. I think she's super dope. Um, but it's hard, man, because I think you look at a lot of the East Coast spitters right now, and a lot of them, they're a bit older. You know what I mean? A bit.
Yeah.
I don't want to say too old to get involved in all this,
Not.
but you look at kind of.
I was thinking
Oh,
like
go
maybe
ahead, man.
Conway, but I'm like he's like 40 plus. Like I don't know if he's getting into this.
Yeah, man. And shout out to Shay Noir too. I think
Yeah.
she's super
Oh,
dope.
she's
But
amazing.
at the same time, like I don't know 100% like about kind of East Coast regions and shit like that. But I understand like Griselda and Shay, like they're from Buffalo. Is
They're
that
Buffalo. Yeah, they're upstate New York.
okay? So that's different from like New York, New York.
Yeah, that's like a 2 hour drive, 3 hours up.
Oh shit. Okay. Yeah. So it's like I don't even know if that would necessarily
Yeah.
work for that. And I think what Ransom is from New Jersey, right?
Is he? I mean, Ransom's crazy too, but also older. I feel like he thinks of himself like not as part of the like recipient of this beef. He's like, they're not coming at me right now.
Yeah, man. So I don't know, man. I don't know who East Coast really has. Like maybe Dave East. I don't know,
Yeah,
man.
I feel like New York has gone like kind of more poppy with the rap sound, which there was a time in the 2000s they were like that too. But yeah, there's not as many like straight spitters who are like angry rappers the way that we're getting Daylyt and like AZChike, and we'll get into that. Like these guys sound angry. Joey even sounds like too cool in some of these freestyles, and you're saying these dudes are they got that in their voice.
Yeah, man. Especially like you said, we'll get into it. But that Daylight track, like holy shit.
Yeah, is
You
is
know what I mean?
wild. I'd be down for this to become a whole regional thing. Like I want Chicago to start getting Mick Jenkins up in here going at someone because he was going at Joey before. Let's get. I want someone to come at Jid. I want to see what JID can do in a rap beef.
Yeah, that might be a problem. That might be a problem. You get the South involved. That could be interesting because they
Yeah.
can definitely make a slap out of a diss track too, for sure.
I feel like the same way back in the day they're like don't anger the white boy in terms of Eminem. I feel like it's like JID for that. They're like don't anger that guy. I don't know if we want to see what that man can do.
Yeah, for sure.
And then so Joey drops the finals in reaction to that. He said in the first line it's like you're artificial, not because we know you're artificial. I like that one. Clearly I'm not. This was in response to the girl line. Clearly I'm not scared to get in the ring. Even Javante had to fight a couple bums to be a king. That was hard. You need an optician just to see Ray's bands. That was a good one.
Yeah, yeah.
Because some of them were a little too simple for me, but that one I was like, all right, good job, Joey. There we go.
No, he showed up, man. He showed up. I think when I first heard it, because I'm not gonna lie, it does take me a minute to take my West Coast bias out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Especially in a beef, it's such a regional beef. So my first listen, I was like, man, this ain't it. This
whack.
sucks. Yeah, man. But I gave it a few more. Try to have a unbiased listen, and he showed
Yeah.
up. Man, he showed up to rap. I thought the beat was a little underwhelming, but I think that's
feel
me
you.
comparing it to what Ray just came with. You
Yeah.
know. But he showed up, man. He showed up. I'm interested in seeing if he has more.
Yeah.
I don't, because even taking my bias out of it, I didn't necessarily feel like it was enough. There was a lot of dope bars in there,
Yeah.
but I don't think it matched the energy of what Ray had done. And I think energy is so important in these things,
Yeah.
especially in the era we're living in.
That's like when Drake came with was the Heart Part 6, the last one he did, where he was like, he just sounded so like he sounded like he lost like his voice, and it was like at this point you got to come harder. You can't fall back into your like militia, like your military like type rap.
Yeah, man. But I thought it was cool, man. I thought it was a cool response. But it's not enough.
No, no. And to your point about like the first reaction type stuff, it's funny looking back at some of my first reactions to the Drake and Kendrick beef. I remember hearing Euphoria and being like, not that good of a beat and not that crazy. Now I think it's my favorite, most played song within the beat. And I think some of his vocal inflections took a little. I feel like when you first hear them, you're like, that's weird. And then the fourth listen, you're screaming them with him, and like they get really caught in your head. I think I heard "Not Like Us" in a car for the first time, and I was like, kind of just made a hit song. I mean, it didn't like hit me at first, and then with one week, it's the number one song in the country, and you're like playing it just like a banger in your car, not even like as a beef song. So some of these take a
Yeah.
little time.
Yeah, just to pivot a little bit, I'm curious on kind of what your reaction to the beef being from the East Coast, and if that kind of like skewed your opinion at all.
Yeah. I'll say to Drake and Kendrick, I'm a bigger Kendrick fan. So it's funny if I like say a positive Drake thing, people are like, damn, like you don't fuck with Kendrick. I'm like, I'm a way bigger Kendrick fan. But I like push-ups. I thought push-ups were hard. So for this, I'm also at this current moment, 2025, I'm a bigger Ray Vaughn fan than I am a Joey fan. Because I love Ray's last album. I didn't like love 2000, but like I grew up a Joey fan. So I'll say it doesn't fully affect. I think I'm used to liking East Coast beats more. Like when I was in high school, going through my '90s phase, I definitely leaned more Biggie than I did Pac, just because I like those beats more, and I like the Tribe Called Quest. I like grew up on jazzy stuff, so I think my ear for beats, which is maybe why I didn't love Not Like Us at first, and maybe I didn't love Euphoria at first, and now I'm getting more used to those beats. And maybe GNX on first listen, I was like, not his best album, and now I think it's amazing. So I
Yeah.
think I'm one of those people who's getting trained on Cali beats, just knowing that my background wasn't Cali.
Yeah, that makes sense. You know what I mean? I don't know if I necessarily have the same problem sonically, but I do, like I said, I think just have an inherent bias of just wanting the West to win. You know
Oh,
what I
okay.
mean?
I mean, I would love the East Coast to win, but like you said, I don't know what East Coast rappers are going to step up. I might be a fan of some of these West Coast rappers more. That
Yeah,
are, yeah,
yeah. And they're, like we said, they're really showing up to rap.
yeah. And then so this morning, AZChike dropped what was called "What Would You Do," and one of the lines I wrote down was, "You the only one at your group that still makes songs. Fuck that bullshit you wrote for Post Malone, and barely that it wasn't working. Start to act." Like he was spitting. That was
He
that was
was,
that was
man.
tough.
And shout out to Lo the Great, who produced that, and he also, I want to say, did Ray Vaughn's track as well. And I'm actually having him on my show later this week, so
Oh, there we
hoping
go.
to drop that maybe Friday.
Fire.
Talk about this. Um, I love that shit, man. I love that. I think AZChike's like his delivery. I think when we talked about Joey not necessarily sounding
Angry.
super aggressive, it's interesting because AZ like he's not like yelling, but he has that very like
Sounds mad.
he sounds mad. It's like calm but mad in like kind of
Yeah.
a scary way. He kind of perfected that, I think. And it was a nice offering. I wasn't honestly sure if he was going to respond or not because I remember he had that kind of snippet at the end of one of his music videos throwing shots at Joey, but Joey never really directly responded to
Yeah.
that. So I think it's nice to get a response from him. And it's just kind of crazy the way it seemed like the whole West Coast is dogpiling on Joey
And
right now.
it's weird because you can look at it because so many people are coming at Joey. It's like, is Joey winning because all these guys are ganging up on him because it's like one versus multiple people? But it does seem like they're bringing better disses than he did so far. So it's like a weird thing. Like it's like when Drake had so many people coming at him at once. So it's like, is he winning because he is having to battle all these people at one time? But then Kendrick kind of finished it.
Right.
And that was kind of Drake's issue that I love Family Matters. I think it's an excellent diss, but he was still going at all the other guys, and Kendrick was aiming right at him. So it's like he was still giving time to like The Weeknd and Metro and ASAP Rocky. And it's like, we need you to focus right on Kendrick. So I wonder who Joey's going to focus on. Is he going to still try to, if you try to go after everyone, it's hard to have like that strong of disses versus all these guys are going right at him.
Yeah, and I think it's hard too because I think at least at the moment, hmm, I'm trying to figure out if Ray Vaughn or AZChike has more kind of shine right now in the spotlight because Chike has he's coming
He's on the
off the
Kendrick album,
GNX.
yeah.
Um, but I mean, I and we'll get into it, but I feel like he has to say something to Daylyt at least.
Oh yeah, we'll get into it right now. Daylyt just
Yeah.
dropped. I don't know what this abbreviation stands for off the top, but WRD2MIMVA. What is that? What? I can't even think. It was insane. He started the video with Drake, like hyping him up, which was a flex from the beginning. And this is a battle rapper. This is a different rapper than we've gotten in any of these beefs. I mean, Pusha sounds angry when he raps, like really angry, but this felt like you were watching a YouTube video of a battle rapper. But what were your thoughts on this one?
Man, I don't even know what to say. Like, it dropped what, an hour ago maybe?
Hour ago, yeah.
Um, and I feel like, it's daylight, so there's a lot I feel like I haven't unpacked. There's definitely
For
shit that
sure.
probably flew over my head, but I loved the aggression. I loved the Hove sample.
Yeah.
I love the shots in the video of him in New York. I think, man, he came for the throat. Pause. But
Yeah.
but and like you said, really showed that he's a battle rapper. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like this is you can tell he really comes from this. This is what he does for a living. I love the aggression in his voice. I thought it was crazy. There's a lot of bars I can't think of off the top of my head. But I will say, there was that line at the end. Referencing capital
Yeah,
Steez,
he wrote
unfortunately.
if the world knew what beep, which is assumably capital Steve's was the beep. If the world knew what beep about you, they'd jump off a bridge too.
Yeah, man, I don't really know how to feel about that because if we're talking, it's interesting because like he does come from that battle rap world where nothing is off limits,
Yeah,
but I think battle rap is different than kind of a beef,
yeah,
in this context. Um, and this is where it could get ugly. This is you start bringing people's family and loved ones into it.
yeah.
The gloves are off, so I really don't know where it's going to go from here. It's interesting that he kind of brought that up. It makes me wonder if there is kind of some shit behind the scenes that we don't
Yeah.
necessarily know about.
And he had posted a picture of Capital Steez the other day, and I saw some people saying that he actually had a relationship also with Capital Steez. So first they're like, maybe it's not like going to be pushing the red button. Maybe he's I don't know what he was insinuating with the picture. Might be a step too far. We'll see what I'm not sure what
Yeah.
information would make it okay for what he said that he has.
Yeah, from what I understand, Daylyt and Steez were really tight. I know Daylyt has Steez tatted on his arm.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. I don't know where the hell this is gonna go. I'm a little scared.
Yeah.
I didn't want any of this to kind of get personal. I want to keep
Yeah.
it on wax, but we'll fucking see.
Yeah, and like I said before, we're recording this on the 19th. It's gonna drop on the Wednesday the 21st. So we'll see if any blood is any new songs drop before that. Hopefully not, just so this podcast stays evergreen and it's still relevant. But yeah, it's been insane. And like I said, this is why I love hip hop. This is like the fun stuff. I love when everyone in the group chat's popping off. I love when we're arguing about who's winning. I love when Twitter's popping off and not talking about some bullshit. It's a great time.
Oh, and I do want to say we did forget one. Reason.
Oh shit, yeah, Reason did drop.
Yeah, Reason a few days ago had a. What was the name of that joint?
Let me see if I can find it quickly.
The Dead Apple.
Dead Apple. Reason's tough
Yeah.
too. It sucked. It's unfortunate what happened publicly with his label, but he's a great rapper.
Yeah, and I thought it was cool that he jumped in. Because Joey did kind of not throw a shot at him, but he brought his name up in
Yeah.
the
On
finals.
Yeah, what do you say?
He said, "I'm gonna
drop
make
you
you
off.
I'm gonna make you the next one dropped off top dog, or you're gonna be the next one dropped off top dog, and
And
I'll
I'm
be
the
the
reason."
reason."
That was a bar.
So, yeah, it was a bar, and I thought it was cool that Reason shot back. I fucked with his diss.
Yeah.
That was another one produced by Low the Great. Shout out to the homie, man.
Oh, he's killing it. He's cooking.
Yeah, man. I don't know if it's necessarily anything Joey has to respond to, but I thought it was cool that Reason kind of threw his hat in the ring.
Yeah. Okay, pardon the interruption from the podcast because, as we said a couple minutes ago, within the past 24 hours since we recorded this podcast, a whole album has dropped amongst this beef between the entire one side of a country versus one man in New York City. So I brought in my Chicago correspondent, KayHon. Welcome, finally to the pod. We're gonna get a full podcast soon, but I needed to get someone quickly to discuss our thoughts on what happened in the last 24 hours. So we left off in the pod at the I think it was the AZChike, also known now as Ass Cheek.
Yeah, ass cheek, the goat.
That's one of those bars that's like, it's similar to like Metro Shut Your Hoe Ass Up and Make Some Drums in that it's so simple, but it just sounds so disrespectful. Like he didn't even
It's
address
one
anything else.
line.
Just Ass Cheek.
I'm like, all right, yeah, no, that was his best bar. I think out of that, like I
Best
remember
bar.
that verbatim.
So what going into this, what have been your thoughts before we get into like what's happened the last 24 hours? What was your fandom level of these people?
Bro.
How have you been feeling about it?
Okay, I love to preface this. I love Joey Badass. Like, always been a fan. Haven't been like the biggest fan of Joey Badass, but I'm like, this man is legendary. Like, regardless, like 1999, a legendary album.
Classic album, yeah.
When I saw he initially dissed Kendrick and J. Cole, I'm like, what are we doing? Like, we're not there. Like, I don't
Yeah.
think. Like, I love Joey Badass, but like, we're not Drake level. We're not J. Cole level. Kendrick
Yeah.
level. And so I'm glad that like Daylyt and Ray Vaughn have entered here, and
Yeah.
AZChike has entered, Reason's entered. These are people that I think are in the lane of Joey Badass. So I'm glad they entered.
I think Joey is like in the step above them, but I think it's cool because it could have been easy for him to be like embarrassed that this is like who he's battling. And
Yeah.
I fuck with these guys' music, but he kept at it, so that was nice of him.
But yeah, I mean, I think he is above them. I will say he's like a level above them, but at the same time, it's like he hasn't really been in the game for
He's
real
not.
in a minute. Like I don't even. It's been a long time until he dissed them, until he dissed
Yeah.
J. Cole and stuff. So I don't know. I
Yeah,
think he
came
stepped down.
off-
He stepped down half a step. I think because of the hiatus.
Oh, for sure, yeah. And he could. He's not that level, and he's not the level below them. He's probably not the level 2 levels below them. And like you said, hey, I grew up 1999, All American Badass. I was on that tour. It was opened by Westside Boogie and Buddy. It was an amazing tour.
Ooh, that's a great tour.
It's a great tour. Looking back out, I have the shirt still, which is really cool to see them on it. And Westside Boogie, someone tweeted like, "You should get in the battle," and he's like, "Nah."
Yeah, no. I would love for him to get in the battle though. I would
'Cause
love for him to get in the battle.
Yeah, because that's probably more in my mind like what the Joey size of like notoriety is. But yeah, these are the people we got, and we got a war. Up until last night, who did you think was winning? Did anything impress you?
I don't even know. I knew Daylyt was losing. 100%. Like I was like, I don't know who's winning, but I know Daylyt is not. But I don't know who
Yeah,
I thought was like
someone said,
winning.
you know that video of Cassidy making a beat? People are like, he's getting on that beat where it's just like an NBA 2K loading screen beat.
It's bad. I saw somebody tweet they were like, battle rappers never make good music, and I'm like,
True.
he's just like reinforcing that fully.
Yeah.
I'm like, he needs to come through, and he has some better like beats now. Like I think, what was his last one? He had
He made like I have the
AO
whole
or something.
AO was dropped
Yeah,
today.
yeah. That has
Bro,
a better beat.
Yeah, I think some of them were mixed poorly, and some of them like the beat was too loud where I couldn't hear the bars, and like there's a beat
yeah.
change. There's a lot going on.
No,
But yeah,
he's not
he's,
mixing it, bro. Like the high end is high. Like I can tell no one EQ'd this at all. Like I think he rapped and dropped it, recorded on a phone maybe. And
Which
just
you would
dropped
think
it.
a rapper at this level would just have like one of those things just preset that this is what it sounds like, just make it surface level good sounding. And it seems like he purposely was like, no plugins. Let's nothing on this.
No, it's raw vocals, maybe a limiter, max. Max,
Yeah.
we have a limiter on it. But that's it, bro. Because I'm listening to it, and like some of the like verses like are hurting my ears a little bit.
Yeah.
Like listening to it, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna turn it down.
Yeah.
We are good, but
So last night we had CJ Fly drop one. He's like the only guy in New York that tried to come to his defense, which I have a New York friend who said that Joey's not like, people don't really rock with him in the city because he hasn't like shown love to the city, which I don't know how true that is, but based on the fact that
Yeah.
not many people have joined the battle, kind of proves that.
yeah.
So
The second I didn't see Griselda, I was like, all right.
Bro,
I was
they're
like, no one
like-
from Griselda.
they're like 45. They're from Buffalo. They're like, we're not about this. And I think
Yeah.
it's funny. I'll make my take right now. I tweeted this. I think that because it's 1v20, it gives off the impression that Joey's winning. So I'm confused why all these guys are only going at Joey. Like, they've not sprinkled a diss over anyone else. There's no, like,
Yeah.
no one else has
one
gotten any
has.
attention. So none of them have purposely gone for a Griselda guy. Probably like, we don't want to do that.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't touch Griselda because like that would be 8 mixtapes of just heat.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like Reason couldn't take that. Like he just got out of a label, he can't take a Griselda
Yeah.
diss right now. There's no way. He dissed New York.
His therapist is like, please, God, no.
Yeah,
We
no
worked
more
so
drama.
hard. We got him back to a certain confidence level.
Yeah, no Reason. I mean, he dissed New York though. Like he did say like y'all were the. He said something. Well, I wrote it down.
His diss was good. I'll be honest. I listened to it
Yeah.
today. It was very good. So shout out Reason. He did try.
He was cooking. He was cooking. He was like, he brought up my name. He was like, I didn't want to gum in the beef. He
Yeah.
brought up my name, so I'm gonna speak on it. But he said, y'all used to be the blueprint, and no one's gonna take a stand with you. Basically saying like, no one's gonna stand with Joey. And I'm like,
Yeah.
he's spitting though. Like no one is coming to his defense at all.
And it must like show something about
Yeah.
Joey and his spot there. A guy named Kai Cash, who I wasn't familiar with, dropped Nixon 6, which was actually really fire.
Yeah,
I
I
fucked with that.
just heard that.
And then last night, Joey dropped My Town with Loaded Lux, which I'm trying to think back to which one was my favorite. I think that actually might have been my favorite Joey diss. I think he had some really good bars in that one. He always reuses or uses bars that I think a 13-year-old rapper would use, where it's very simile, like, I'm blank like blank. Where he's I'm smoking you like a black and mild. Like, come on, you're better than that, bud.
No, he's an old head rapper at heart. I expect that.
He called himself the rap phenomenon, which is like the most old head thing to call yourself, like rap phenomenon. Yeah. So those bars like get me out of it. But I thought that was a really that was a good diss.
Rap phenomenon is crazy. Now, I mean, he has 2006 bars for sure. Like he definitely has a 2006 flow sometimes. But yeah, I like that. I didn't know who Loaded Lux was. I'm not tapped in with Loaded Lux.
Another battle rapper. So I think that was a big thing in the battle rap community. Like, they're finally going after each other. I feel like
Yeah.
Joey sometimes is instead of aura farming, he's kind of like voice farming because he has such a good rap voice that I think he like leans so heavily on it, which is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
But he can get away with lines because he has like that thick ass New York accent.
Oh yeah, and it sounds hard hitting, and it'll be the most average bar of all time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is hard. Like I'm like, this is
Yeah.
amazing. But no,
So
if
then-
you go back and look at the lyrics, it's not bumping.
No, not really. And Ray Vaughn dropped Golden Eye last night, which actually I thought was very good.
Hard.
Hard.
Bro.
Lot of Diddy bars, but you know what?
Ooh.
You hang out with Diddy, you asked for it.
Yeah. He has 8. I looked up because I was like, I didn't even know he was kicking it with Diddy. I looked up like Joey Badass and Diddy. He has like a photo album of him and Diddy. Like it's so many pictures, bro. I'm like, damn, you're at his
So
house every
much
day.
evidence.
Like that's a problem. Like he wasn't at just one party. Like he was at multiple for sure.
Yeah, and people were trying to like roast Ray Vaughn. Like you spent a whole song talking about Diddy, but like, hey, I mean, you hung out with Diddy. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's his fault. But he came back and said that he saw Kendrick at the Diddy parties.
So I think this has been a source of debate in a group chat I'm in. Did he say dot or top? People think he was saying top was at the Diddy parties. Either way, I'm sure Kendrick has been to a Diddy party. I don't know which type
Yeah.
of Diddy party. I don't want to.
Yeah, I'm not gonna speculate.
Yeah, not gonna
But
speculate here.
He got beef with Diddy though. I don't know if he has been because they had beef back in like 2000 what like 15, 14?
Yeah, no, as a Cole fan, now that what's that song? Let Go My Hand. He has Diddy speaking at the end of it, and Cole in that song talked about scrapping Diddy. Let's go, Cole. You're on like the good side, and then you brought him back on the album.
Yeah.
Looks kind of fucked up now.
Yeah, we can't. I'm glad that a lot of rappers didn't have Diddy on their tracks. Like, there's so many rappers that if they would have had Diddy on the track, it would have ruined all these songs for me.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't go back and listen to no Diddy song now.
Nope. And then Daylyt dropped Ayo this morning. Daylyt had a day. I'm not sure want to say he had a day today. It was kind of whack. But he dropped 3 songs. He dropped Ayo. He dropped I Can't Hold You Thissa. And then he dropped Word. He dropped the song called Word Is Bond, which is pretty funny because I think Joey always says Word Is Bond. I'm not sure if that was a shot at him, but
It's a shot at New York for sure.
One song was a diss. One song was, I don't even know. Couldn't even understand what he was saying with the mix. And one song randomly got really sad, and he was rapping about capital D's, which
Yeah. Which one was that one? Was that
was the last one, I think. I think that was Word Is Bond.
Oh yeah. That song was sad. That was actually a good song though.
Yeah, it was like a
I
well-made
actually
song.
enjoyed it. Yeah.
It seems like this guy has mental problems. I don't know. He was rapping about. He was rapping that he has like depression. He's rapping about like murdering and with swords people, and he seems a little all over the place.
I didn't know what was going on, bro. Like he was talking about going to some girl's house or something.
Yeah.
I don't even know. I don't know what was going on. I listened to it. I was like, okay, I'm gonna leave it and just come back to it at some point because I'm like, I don't know what's going on.
And then lastly, this one of the worst disses I've heard in this battle was Hitta J3, who I think was the guy on the Kendrick album. He dropped one that's over the Rigor Mortis beat called The Last Supper, which Rigor Mortis is known for like Kendrick's breath control and like how long he's rapping. And this guy's just punching in on the beat, and it just did not sound right. You can't be punching in on Rigor Mortis.
Nah, that beat you definitely, because every time you stop, like you can hear the punch in, and the beat is still bumping. Like there's no point where you can punch in. Yeah, I didn't really like it.
It's a beat made for someone to be using like every ounce of their breath and just keep going.
Yeah, and to do it on that Kendrick song specifically, like that's one of his best songs of all time. Like crazy song. I don't know if I would have used that beat.
I like the idea that he used an old Kendrick beat. I just think it's so funny that these guys are all just going at Joey. Like, there's not even an attempt to go at a single another artist.
Nah. Because I don't know why would they. Nobody else has beef with anybody else from New York to West Coast. Like, I don't know anybody that really has outward beef.
Yeah, I saw someone say online how fragmented New York is, where people within New York don't even rock with New York. It's not as much like Team New York as like LA feels very connected right now. Mm-hmm. But do you have a winner? I think it's over now that a guy made a song about capital D's and was sad.
Yeah,
so
I was just like, where do we go from here with Daylyt specifically? Like, I think he's out for sure.
That was a tap out.
Yeah, well, I think he had to make it because I remember I don't know which song it was. He talked about somebody jumping off a bridge, and I thought he was
Capital
talking about
Steez.
Capital Steez.
I
Yeah.
assumed he bleeped out the name, but I assumed it was Capital Steez.
Yeah, but he was talking about Soul, and I was like, you should have made that.
More
Like,
clear.
Yeah,
Oh, because
way more
Soul,
clear.
Soul did attempt suicide jumping off of like a highway like billboard.
Yeah. No, he almost like died. I think he broke like every
Yeah.
bone. That's why he can like barely see now.
Yeah.
So like I would have had a Soul bar right after that. Like you needed something to discern that it was not Capital C.
Yeah, he didn't make
Like
it clear
100%.
whatsoever.
Nah. So I think he's tapped out. Joey's like second, but I think Ray Vaughn, I don't know. That Goldeneye song is good.
I think I might be siding on Ray Vaughn right now as well, just because some of the Joey lines annoyed me. But he did have that one with the Loaded Lux I thought was very good. He said, "Is it Ray versus you or is it UV Ray?" I'm like, all right, I see you.
Yeah. Yeah.
He said, "I need an optician to get Ray banned." Like it was a Ray Band's line with he had good lines, but no, it might be a draw for me honestly, which is a pussy take. But I think that might be where I'm at.
It's close. It's like one more song could seal the deal for either of them.
But the 20v1 aspect also might lean me towards Joey, because it seems pretty cool what he's doing right now. It's kind of like Kill Bill, just going after everyone coming at you.
Fighting an army. Yeah, no, he was up until I heard Goldeneye. Once I heard Goldeneye, I was like, this is the best song, in my opinion, from what's dropped.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Let me go back through the songs. I don't know if there's anything that I would have put. Reasons was good.
Reason was good,
Apple,
but
like the beat switches were good.
not enough
But
to
Joey
win. Though.
Badass. Nah, definitely not enough to win. Even the Joey Badass Red Bull freestyle was good though. That was a
very
really good
good.
verse. Who is Joey up actually?
I think it might be Joey, just purely because of the 20v1 aspect. Plus, like he held himself well.
Yeah. The ass cheek line might put it over. I think the ass cheek line might have it for me genuinely, because I'm like, he didn't even comment on like AZChike like at all.
Yeah,
which I love.
Just pure right. It's more disrespectful to do that.
Yeah, he might be up. Okay, I'll put Joey up by like 0.2%. Like
Okay,
he's barely up.
So now that this is the second time I'm saying this on this pod episode, let's pray that no more songs drop so this remains relevant. We have a winner. Joey, congratulations. You beat Ray Vaughn. But Ray Vaughn, great work out there. Good new album.
Amazing. Beautiful.
You want to shout out where people can find you? I appreciate you for coming on here. We will do a full one.
Of course. Yeah, we got to get a whole pod in.
Yeah.
But y'all can find me at KayHon or XKayHon on all plats. Yeah, I don't know. It's XKayHon on like TikTok, I think. So I don't know. I got to put the X in there sometimes.
We'll have the thing up right here. They'll see it.
Yeah. Okay.
But I appreciate you.
Perfect.
Go tap in with him.
Yeah.
And this next question will kind of like relate to your podcast, but you tweeted, making sure Cali's musical history is preserved is so important to me. I'm so honored to be able to have a platform to explore these stories from big names to underground artists. I owe all of me to California and its music, and we're really seeing like the sound being so prevalent this past year and this beef. Talk about why that is so important to you.
Man, I mean, to put it simply, it's just what I grew up on. You know what I mean? For folks that don't know, I'm from the Bay Area. Born and raised. So it's just something that's always kind of been around, but also I think, just growing up to and kind of learning hip hop history and whatnot, I think, the West is a place that historically has kind of been counted out in the conversation when it comes to other regions and whatnot. You don't really see a lot of West Coast rappers coming up in these best rappers lists outside of Pac. You might get some Ice Cube in there, and now Kendrick. But I just think, we have so much to offer. We have a deep and very rich history that just doesn't get the love that I think it should. And because of that, you look at a lot of these big kind of hip hop publications that don't necessarily cover it. Even back in the day. So a lot of that history was kind of lost. A lot of those stories never got to be told. And so it's just important for me to explore that and try and do what I can to cover not only what's going on right now, but what has happened in the past as well.
I think it's cool that I think California is such a big state that even within it, there's so many different sounds from LA to Sacramento to the Bay to like Ventura, California. I know that's where I think like Anderson .Paak's from and Kyle, who I grew up as a fan of, and it's cool that each city has such a regional sound. Maybe that causes the issue of Cali not being all grouped together because there's all these different sounds within it. But it's a cool state with how big it is like that.
Yeah, and I think there is kind of there's a lot of misconception about Cali too when it comes to the regions and shit like that. Like I talk to a lot of people from out of state, and I tell them I'm from the Bay, and like a lot of folks think the Bay is like a 15-minute drive from LA
Yeah,
when
yeah,
it's
yeah,
like 5 or 6 depending on traffic.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But it is interesting, like you said, that it is so big, and there's I think there's more subgenres and sounds that folks than folks give it credit for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm happy you brought up Sacramento too, because I lived in Sacramento for a bit, and there's definitely a deep kind of rich history there as well.
Yeah, there's a rapper, Igwe Aka. I love him.
Hmm.
He's from Sacramento. He's killing it. And it's funny to the distance point. I saw a tweet about this once that said how people who like live an hour away from London in England, they'll be like, "Oh, I live nowhere near London." And to us, like an hour drive is nothing. Where I'm from 2 hours away from New York, but if I was talking to someone from the West Coast, I'd be like, "Yeah, I live like around New York," and that's like a 2 hour drive for me. But I'm like 20 minutes from Philly, so that's kind of what I rep in
Okay.
South Jersey and in Philly. But yeah, it's U.S. is different. It's a drive everywhere. It's a long drive.
Hell yeah.
And I want to talk about DJing culture right now because I think you said you started off doing remixes and stuff, and we're seeing that become so popular on TikTok, people kind of popping off and DIY DJs and hip hop itself. I learned this when I was taking a hip hop class in college, but like there's four distinct parts of hip hop where it's like rapping, DJing, breakdancing, and graffiti. And hip hop started with the DJs being the forefront, the famous guys. It was DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. It wasn't the other way around. And like you like Eric B and Rakim. It was Eric B first. So it's cool to see producers. I feel like in the past couple years are getting that shine back. People like the Alchemist really being like the brand name. He might be the person that makes you plush the song, not the rapper at all. But how's that feeling for you as that rise comes back for the DJ?
Man, it's interesting, and it's complicated for me, I guess I'll
Yeah.
say. I have a lot of feelings. I haven't spoken too much about this publicly, so I try not to put too much uh, negative energy out there. But what I'm saying, fuck it.
Yeah, let's get it.
I for me, for me, so I started DJing in very very early. I think it was January of 2021. I had gotten that stimulus check.
Yes, sir.
What I'm saying? I was looking for something to do. I'd been making music and producing since I was like shit, like 10 or 11.
Yeah.
But it never really went anywhere. It didn't feel fulfilling to me, you
Yeah.
know. And so but I was looking for a new creative outlet, so I just fucking ordered a board online and shit. And started there. And I'd always been a fan of remix culture, of blends, before they were called mashups.
Yeah.
And so I started getting into that and just posting on TikTok because it was still a relatively new phenomenon. And there wasn't that many people really doing that yet. It was really just shout out to my guy Morphus. He was really like a pioneer of this kind of new wave of what we're seeing now. And so I got really into that, and I saw a lot of success from it, and also got to see kind of really the explosion of remix and mashup culture now, and just kind of the how easy it is now to be a DJ,
Yeah.
given the internet and how easy it is to get boards and whatnot.
Yeah.
Now too, we have stuff like Serato stems.
Yeah.
So it's easier than ever to make your own acapellas and make your own mashups and remixes and shit. So it's for me, it's cool that anyone can do it. I also think when it comes to remix culture, at least it's gotten very watered down. And I feel like TikTok has kind of affected it negatively in some way. I think people are treating it more like a chance to go viral than
Yeah.
really honoring the remix as an art form.
Yeah.
Um, and I think for me, that kind of like took the excitement out of it. You know what I'm saying? But I do think that it is a bubble that will eventually burst.
Yeah.
Um, I will say, with that explosion, it is cool that people now more than ever are paying attention to DJing and the art of DJing, regardless of how I feel about it.
Yeah. I mean, they lowered the barrier of entry, which is kind of similar to like how rap got for a little while, where anybody can get a microphone now and get on Apple Music. And it's not
Right.
necessarily a bad thing, but then you had people who were making music who never did their proper research on the genre, and you can tell that. And they're referring to like the 90s or 80s rap as like bad. The same way I might talk about like 60s NBA players, like they're plumbers and they weren't that good. But like I thought a cool example was I saw the remix of it was Travis Scott. I forget which song, but it was over the Nokia beat. And I actually
Hmm.
thought it sounded better than the original song. It made me like the song more. And I think Travis performed somewhere and actually used the mashup, which is cool to see. Like, oh, I make some in my bedroom. It can go all the way up the ranks to Travis Scott performing it. I think that gives hope to the people out there who are doing the
Yeah,
DJing.
for sure. I mean that that similar things have kind of happened to me. I made a remix of a Her song that got really big, and Her ended up using it on Instagram and on
That's
TikTok.
crazy. Yeah.
And I got to have some conversations with her. So that is one thing that's cool, is that people can, like, the possibilities are kind of endless in terms of,
Yeah.
like, if you have a good idea, it can go anywhere and anything can happen and anyone can see it.
Yeah. But I see what you mean about like people just doing it to get big. There was a time a couple years ago within hip hop where people were just sampling, well, maybe like 2 years ago, where they were just like kind of sampling 90s pop hits and then turning it into a rap song. And the 2000s did that too at some point. And you had to the educational point of like knowing the culture, you had a tweet. I forget what it was in response to because the person deleted their tweet. You said, LMAO, man, it's so important to have cultural awareness and do your homework. I used to DJ a lot in Nigerian clubs in Oakland and only got invited back because I knew my shit. If you're driving in a different lane, treat it with respect. So speak a little to that because it is important. You shouldn't just be like, it means a lot more when you understand what you're playing and who you're playing it for.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, the tweet was talking about someone was at a Cinco de Mayo party, and the DJ said something like "Happy Cinco de Mayo," and they started playing like Sean Paul or something like
Yeah.
that. I think for me, I've always been kind of hyper aware of the spaces I'm in, the communities I'm adjacent to. I'm white; it's no fucking secret.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But growing up in Cali and in the Bay, it's a very diverse place.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of growing up there allowed me to kind of experience and see a lot of different cultures, and then getting into DJing, getting into kind of hip hop, um, and just being around different people from different backgrounds and being accepted into these spaces, being asked into these spaces, like I talked about, DJing in Nigerian clubs, where it's like I'm the only white person in the room.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I think it's like stuff like that. Like, that's an honor. That's not something you should take lightly. And I feel like as white folks in these spaces, it's like it's the absolute least you can do to, like, do your fucking homework and
Yeah.
know what the hell you're talking about, because you know these people, like, don't have to let you in. You know what I'm saying? It's not
Yeah.
something you're owed at all. And so it's just a matter of respect at the end of the day.
Yeah. And I've always thought the homework part was the fun part about hip hop. As like I started loving hip hop in the 2010. I'm like 9 years old, and I'm bumping Forest Hill Drive, and he's like, "Ugh, nice watch." Then I'm listening to Jay Z music, and I'm like, "Oh, it's a Jay Z line." Like I didn't realize that. Or playing albums on DatPiff mixtapes and being like, "What is this beat?" And then finding out it was a Tribe Called Quest beat. So like that's how I got into Tribe Called Quest, was because I think I heard like Logic rap on something. I think it was Electric
Mm.
Relaxation. And I'm like, "Oh, what the fuck is this?" Or seeing, I remember like Action Bronson rapped on the Hove beat on Funk Flex. And I'm like, what song is this? And it was 101 Questions. I'm like, oh my lord, like this, I love this beat. So I think that the homework aspect was always what was really fun to me, was finding like, oh, this is interpolating that. Oh, this is sampling that. Got me into jazz music, because like I studied the jazz music if I have to study. And that was always fun to me.
Yeah, man. That's something I love too. Really just in music in general, but I think hip hop especially. Like, it's something where really there's so many dots you can connect.
Yeah.
To past hip hop songs and cultures or whatever. But it really, like you said, it opens you up to jazz and soul and funk and just there's so much lineage to explore. And it's like for me, it's like if you want to be a part of this, if you really love it, like why not do that even in a selfish way just for your own, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
so I don't know, I just think it's important to kind of know that shit cuz otherwise like what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah. And how do you get connected with Estelle and getting on Apple Music and being the DJ for that?
Yeah, man. So they found me through TikTok actually. I used to go live a lot. Um
TikTok can be positive. Look at that. There we go.
no, yeah. I don't want to sound like I'm
No, no,
shitting
not
on
to you. I
TikTok
just
and
feel like
shit.
people in music in general are like anti
Oh yeah.
TikTok, and it can have its positives.
No, yeah, like on some real shit, like TikTok, realistically, like few things have changed my life the way that app did, like
Yeah.
completely. But yeah, I used to DJ a lot live on TikTok, and for a long time I was a strictly R&B DJ,
Hmm.
um, and so I would just do that every night, and it was cool. I was having success from it, um, but one day I get a DM on Instagram from Estelle's manager asking me to do a guest mix on the show. Um, Completely lost my shit because at the time, like, I was having some difficulty getting booked. That's another part of DJ
Yeah,
culture
yeah.
I can get into. But so and I was already a big fan of the show. Obviously, a big fan of Estelle. So I ended up doing a guest mix. Um, had a lot of positive feedback about it. They asked me to do another one, and then another one, and then another one, and on the Estelle show, there's a portion of the show called Cuffin, which is very R&B centered, um, and like love songs and all that. And so I ended up being the resident DJ for Cuffin, and you know the DJ portion of the Estelle show is on a hiatus at the moment, but for a while I was getting weekly mixes in on there. And I had the opportunity in February of last year. I actually got flown out to LA and
Damn.
got to go to the Apple Music headquarters there and record an in-person live set with Estelle. She interviewed me and then did another one the next day. And John B came in, got to chop it up with him, and
Sick.
Estelle interviewed him. I got to be there for that, so it's done a lot for me, man. And it's an absolute honor, you know.
It's awesome. And yeah, to your point, the booking thing. I mean, we're saying artists, and I see rappers dealing with that right now. And I don't know too much on the DJing side, so I would love to hear about that.
Yeah, I think it's very similar to what I've seen kind of artists go through, where it's no longer as much about your skill. It's about
Yeah.
the amount of clout you have. It's about it's interesting because I think in a lot of ways the DJs have now also had to become the promoters because it's like, okay, if you don't have this many Instagram followers or
Yeah.
whatever, like why would we book you? Because then blah blah blah. And I think for me at the time, I was not to eat my own ass, but I was very skilled. But it's like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't, I didn't have. It's crazy too because I had hella TikTok followers, but I wasn't popping on Instagram like that yet. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of times promoters and shit, they're really only looking at your Instagram.
Yeah.
Um, and so, it's just they go off that shit. And then, ironically, as soon as I did that thing at Apple Music, and I posted the pictures of me with Estelle and me with John
Yeah.
B. Then I started to get DMs like, "Hey, we want to book you because of just the optics of it." You know
Yeah.
what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah, that is a disappointing thing because there's so many skilled artists out there that don't get big because part of it is branding, sadly, and like that is a part of branding. Like, oh shit, the guy's on Apple Music. We can give him a try,
Right.
but that's hype that you did get the chance and opportunity. Shout out Estelle for allowing that. That's sick.
Yeah, shout out to Estelle, man. Make sure y'all go check out the Estelle show. It's not just DJ mixes over there. She has a lot of great interviews. She interviews a lot of R&B and hip hop legends. Yeah, man. Shout out to Estelle. Shout out to the whole Apple Music team.
And we were just talking before about like connecting the dots with music, and I know that kind of inspired the name of your podcast, Linear Notes. But you're about you're about 20 in. But
Yeah.
how we feeling about talking music on a podcast? So I can relate to that one.
Yeah, and quick correction, it is actually liner notes.
Liner notes. Oh shit,
Uh,
pronounced it wrong. My bad.
oh, you're good, man. You're good. Um, it's cool, man. It's cool. Like I talked a little bit about before, I ended up getting a little bit disillusioned with kind of the remix game with the DJing game, and was struggling for a bit to, uh, find a way to channel my creative energy into something. And I thought, I'm at a point where I have a lot of connections in the music industry now. I have a name, I have a following. And one thing I really love to do is fucking chop it up about music. And I
Yeah.
was like, not to be another fucking white guy with a podcast, but let me try and do this shit.
Yeah, watch out the podcast. Talking hip hop. Let's get it.
Oh shit. So yeah, man, I had the idea late last year. I'd already been pushing out some content of me just kind of talking about music, and I was like, why not? And I love music history so much. It's
Yeah.
why I wanted to become a DJ in the first place, is to kind of explore that. Um, and it's great, man. It's beautiful. I love nerding out about that shit, and it's crazy to me to even just talk to these people that have been a part of the music that changed my life. Like I got to talk to Ichiban Don, aka Willie B. He did a lot of the beats on fucking Section 80 and shit. That was
Yeah.
mind blowing for me. I talked to Dark Child, and also just I've talked to a lot of up and coming people that I'm really excited about. So it feels good to me to be able to use my platform to do something positive like this, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And really just kind of like nerd out on some shit.
I mean, I think that's where you get the fun conversations when you interview the producers and the people who are part of the small things. Sometimes maybe the main artist forgets that stuff, and that's how you really hear about the album's creation. And I get the chance to interview like a producer like Nascent and hearing him talk about making music for like Coloring Book and like just hearing about your favorite albums being made. It never gets old. That's the fun part about a podcast. You can make the content that you like to hear and actually like dictate it. So
Right.
I've been pivoting back to that. Like I want to make stuff that I would actually listen to. So I think that's awesome. What you got going.
Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, and I just want to close it up with we're midway through 2025, which is an insane thing to say already. Some might say it's been a slow year, maybe from like the mainstream big guys dropping, but I still think it's been an awesome year in hip hop. What have you been loving?
Ooh, man, let me pull up my library real quick. Um, I do want to immediately shout. I just dropped a video talking about it today. But shout out to T Spokes. She's a
T
West
Spokes.
Coast rapper that dropped a project earlier this year, Spoken from the Heart. That shit slaps, man. She's coming out of the IE, Southern California. Really cool to me, kind of look into the different sounds that the West has right now. There's a few like bangers on there, but she's exploring kind of a lot of that West Coast R&B sound
Yeah.
right now that we got going on. I love Bad Bunny's fucking album he dropped early this year. That shit is probably my album of the year.
That one, what's it
Uh,
called? DMBTF. Dun, dun, dun,
Yeah.
dun, 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 dun.
Mm,
My sister-in-law is Paraguayan, and she has put me on to Bad Bunny. That's her favorite artist.
Hey man, he's on a run. Shout out to Ray Vaughn, of course. Ooh man, I want to shout out Yoshi Vintage. She dropped my favorite song of the year so far, "Homecoming Queen."
Okay,
That
I'll have to
shit
tap in.
is hard, man. I got an interview with her on my show. Shout out to her. Um, yeah, man. And of course, we got this beef. I guess one last shout out. I do want to shout out the Cuzzos. Another, there's some women coming out of Southern California making some hip hop. They were on the Pop Out. They were in the Squabble Up music video. They have
Oh yeah.
they have a new tape dropping soon, so be on the lookout for that.
I know you're an R&B guy. Have you played the Sailor album?
I have opinions about Sailor that would be a whole a whole other thing to get into that I don't know if two white guys discussing is the best platform for it.
I'm a big fan of her because she was on the Nascent album and she had like 0 songs at the time. So I'm like, who the hell is this? Sounding like SZA. And I really like that album. Saba had a really good album. He's one of those
Shout out Saba.
a little similar to Joey, where I feel like his last album, I was like, not like huge. Maybe I'm like dwindling as a fan. Then this skyrocketed. You gotta see it live at the Blue Note with the full band doing the samples. Fucking insane. Who else do I got? Suave. He just dropped an album.
Oh
And
yeah.
it is insane. It kind of gives me the vibes of like Euphoria Kendrick, like kind of like that type of rapping. And he produced a lot of it himself. I can't stop playing it. So shout out to Suave. Who else do I got? My guy Drew Kelly. That's an artist I manage. He's insane. He's also dropping a new album soon.
Okay.
With Styx, who I told you about, who's based out of Minnesota. So he's crazy. It's there's been a lot of music, and I can't wait to see. We're getting Pusha T clips soon. I'm a huge
Allegedly.
allegedly. He keeps modeling fits. It's all I see on the Instagram, but I would love to see that. JID's dropping end of the summer. I'm a huge stan of JID. So we'll see what we get.
Yeah. Oh, one more, man. I want to shout out Lefty Gunplayer's new album. That shit slaps.
Yeah, I need to tap into that one too.
It's very fucking West Coast, specifically.
Yeah.
Like it's it's Chicano hip hop, so it's a slightly different from what you might expect, but it's dope, man. Shout out to him and Jason Martin.
Well, brother, thank you for coming on the show. This was an awesome one. I love talking music with someone who is just as passionate, if not more passionate, than talking about this shit. I want to give you a spot to shout out where people can find you, where they can find the podcast, where they can find the Estelle show, whatever you want to promote.
Yeah, man. You can find me on all social media platforms on _DJ Short. You can also find the page for my podcast on Instagram, which is at Liner Notes with DJ Short. You go to my IG. The link is in my bio, where you can find the links to my podcast. It's out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. You can find the links for all my sets on the Estelle show there as well. And thanks for having me, man. It's been dope.
Thank you, man. If you stayed to the end of the episode, I love you. Thank you. Subscribe. You can find me Adam-DASH_ on Twitter, Instagram, SoundCentric Music, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Sign up for the SoundCentric newsletter that's dropping every single Monday. I have an article dropping next week about how to ethically and efficiently use AI in the music industry, so not in the bad ways, to actually help with your streamline your process and be more efficient so you got some more time to be creative. I'm dropping articles like that. I love writing, so tune into that. New episodes every other Wednesday. And once again, if you took the time to actually listen to me, I love you. We'll see you next time. Peace.